guys, welcome back to Team Spirit Podcast.
You're here with your host, Lauren.
Emily.
And Carrie. So I think the theme of today's episode is Emily and I are going to be diving more into mediumship development, all of that fun stuff. And I think, Lauren, you have other plans, right?
Yeah, kind of just like some witchy stuff. We have Samhain coming up, which is a big holiday in the witchy world. And it also, it has a lot to do with your past loved ones. So it kind of will tie on in with your mediumship.
Yeah.
So, a major part of this podcast, as Carrie mentioned in our first podcast, is normalizing death. And let me tell you, just a few months of mediumship will really help do that for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, I have a little story about my first time with mediumship where I realized that I was actually being a medium. And this was before I even started the mentorship or knew that the mentorship existed. So, as I mentioned in the first episode, in 2021, like that summer, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder. I went to get help for it. I did inpatient, all that fun stuff. And then when I got out, I was in recovery, and my grandfather, a few months later, got diagnosed with COVID and he passed away. And I relapsed. And for about 2 weeks, I was relapsing again with my eating disorder. And I remember I was still working at the crisis center. And I remember driving home from work. It was like 9 at night. Clairaudiently, I heard him say, "What the hell are you doing?" And I knew exactly.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You told me about that.
I knew exactly what he meant.
Right.
And he said something along the lines of, "I didn't die for you to join me here." And that was a pivotal moment. And I was like, "You're right. What am I doing?" And that night, this was like the end of September of 2021. So I'm now 2 years in recovery. I have not relapsed. I have not looked back since. But, that is the moment that I realized, okay, I can hear the other side. But also that I realized that he was one of my guides. It doesn't matter when someone passes. It doesn't matter if they're a family member or not. You're going to be assigned guides when you're meant to. And I can confidently say that I am closer with him now than I was when he was alive. I mean, we were close, but he is, ask Carrie, attached to my hip. He is my biggest protector. He leads the pack. And it's funny because he's the most recent one that died, but true Aries leading the pack.
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you, Bob. Love you so much, Bob was his name. But yeah, that was the first time. And I thought I was crazy. I thought I'm making this up. But no, I know that was him. And I haven't looked back since. I've been healthy. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it is really cool. Like it stinks to feel close with people once they've passed, but it's also kind of like you can share this part of your life with them that maybe when they were in their physical body here, you just couldn't.
Correct.
And for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, especially for older people, their paths were just so different from
So
ours.
different.
Yeah.
And even the ones who are more open still just, I think that deep fear that we talked about in the first episode, it was so deep
Yes.
that it ran more for fear for us.
Yes.
Not because they didn't love us or things like that, but they were literally afraid. And so like once they've passed and they can kind of see what we're doing and now we can connect with them. Well, more you guys can connect with them and also then connect with others to share with other people. Like that is so special.
Right.
And I think that really takes away any of that fear or shame that they might have felt in the physical world,
They're able to see the big picture when they're on the other side.
Right.
They're able to see it all laid out because let me tell you, he was the driving force of me leaving my job, and him on Earth would have been like, "Are you crazy? You have nothing set up. What are you going to do about health insurance? Do you have a savings?" But once you're on the other side and he sees the bigger picture, he was like, "You needed to quit yesterday."
Right.
Do you remember when we asked him on the Ouija board? He's like,
"On
Monday, quit."
Yeah.
So
and
it's
girl, you did.
Yeah, shortly thereafter. But it's amazing how eye-opening it is for them on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're able to see it all.
Yeah.
Well, right. And I mean, our lives here are really just in front of our face where it's we're constantly thinking of ourselves. And that's not even in a bad way. Like that's, I mean,
it's human nature.
That's how you survive.
Right.
If you won't survive if you're not thinking of yourself or like thinking inwardly. But they don't have to do that anymore. and you're connecting with them also kind of helps you step outside of that and see grander opportunities.
And this life that we have as Emily, as Carrie, as Lauren is a speck of
Oh my gosh,
dust
yeah.
to what our souls have been and will be.
Yeah.
This is just one little speck of dust.
Yep.
A blip.
That of who we are.
Yeah.
Why spend that time doing things we hate or don't like?
Yeah.
Like,
That's so true.
Yeah. I constantly think about those things are like, I wasn't put here to pay bills and time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just I've got bigger plans. Have I figured out? No. Maybe I'll figure out. I don't know.
You will.
But you know, it's not. I'm not gonna be lost in just doing these things that I don't like anymore. And I'm in a very fortunate position that I can be supported by my husband and while I'm figuring these things out. And thankfully I've put work in all these years prior that I didn't even know were going to stabilize me now.
Yeah.
And it feels pretty cool. And it's like, huh.
It's an aha moment.
Yeah.
It is. I've always been like so enthralled with mediumship. And I remember I had, we all know Long Island medium, Teresa.
Yeah.
And when she hit the screens, and I just remember like being like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. How lucky to have a gift like that. And I always wanted to, because of the loss that my family had experienced, I always wanted to treat my mom to a mediumship reading. Like that was one of my goals. And of course at the time I'm like, it's gotta be Teresa. It's gotta be.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, I got real with it that I don't have 3 years to wait around on a list.
Yeah.
And I realized like there's a lot of us out there. Like there's so many amazing mediums. And guys, like it's so important to know that we all have this ability. Like across the board, there is not one person on this earth that cannot do this. And I want to make that very clear.
Yes.
It is something that we all can tap into and we can all learn from and grow through. It's not easy, at least in the beginning. My experience is it's hard. But you learn and you grow. And anyway, I took my mom to a medium that's very well known in my area, and she was fantastic. I can't say enough things about her, but that was my first time, and this was only 18 months ago. And to see how far things have come along in the last 18 months from me being a sitter for the first time in a mediumship to now I'm doing mediumship, it just shows that we have full control over whatever direction we decide to go. And I had an epiphany, and I really think now looking back, because there's been a lot of growth over the last, year during that mediumship reading where I was just so in awe by what she was bringing through. And above anything, it wasn't just the evidence, and it really wasn't even the messages, but the way that she was able to speak like they would speak.
Yeah.
Right.
And to really bring that personality through is one of the biggest goals I have as a developing medium, to be able, they felt like I felt them in the room. I could feel one interjecting in front of the other trying to get the last word. I could feel it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there like really just taking it all in, and I had this epiphany of, I think I can do this with no experience, being a first-time sitter, never had a mediumship reading before, and having this such a strong epiphany of like, I think I can do what she's doing. And I want to bring this story up because I just want to take home again that you absolutely can. Any one of us can. I would say with mediumship, the biggest thing is finding a mentor that you trust.
Yes.
Somebody that you feel really safe with. And listen, guys, like you can also learn on your own. That's absolutely possible too. But what's going to end up happening is you are going to get to a certain point where you just might need a little bit. Medium's a different kind of bear. It's just a different kind of art form. But we are all capable of mediumship, and it'll blow your mind. And Emily and I, we haven't even really been doing it that long, but still, like, we have these moments or these readings that we're in that just like, it knocks your socks off. It's like, there's always a part of you that's like, am I really seeing that? Or is this in my head? But it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we're reading people on TikTok live. So we're reading not only do we not know them, we don't see their face, we have no idea if they're really who they say they are.
Yeah.
We're communicating to them. They can only communicate to us through comments, so we're not even hearing their voice. And we're just coming up with this evidence, and they're like, yes, 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 oh my God, yes. And it's just like, okay, well, I'm not making this up. Because I don't know this I wouldn't know this person if you paid me $1 million.
You just talked to someone from like Ireland or something.
Yeah.
Recently. That was so
Yes.
wild
All
to
over the world.
tune into. That was
Yep.
so cool. And that was cool when you kind of stitched her in. And you still,
Oh,
you
yeah.
couldn't see her, you could only hear her. And
Yeah.
I just thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, just hearing the confirmations is so cool.
Mhm.
And it's, I don't know, it's really cool watching you guys do it. And I do think, like, it's also fine if you're into it, but it's not going to be your career. Like,
Sure.
I think some of the red flags to watch out are the mentors that, like, really are pushing you into, like,
A career.
yes,
Yeah.
leaving everything behind. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's fine to pump the brakes.
So
and be
our
like,
mentor was shocked when we told her
she
that
was
we
like,
left our
"Oh my
job."
God."
she's
Now-
so wonderful.
Yes.
And that's when you know that you found someone, and
Yeah.
it's not just about you joining them. They want your success.
Yeah. I mean, you can use any mediumship, psychism, healing work, I mean, to better your life.
Oh,
to
sure.
better your own journey.
Yeah.
If you want to climb that corporate ladder and, do all that, good for you. Like, go out there and get it. But you can use these are tools to help us enhance our life. Even if it's not, like Lauren said, that you want to be a professional psychic medium, you can still do it to help you and others around you that you love and care
And
about.
career
It's a tool.
goals that aren't
Yeah.
mediumship oriented.
Right.
Right. If you want to learn, how to pull cards on yourself to figure out what next move you should make in your corporate job, I mean, go for it.
Yeah. And, again, guys, like, we're still learning. Like, there's still so much ahead of us that we still need to learn.
But you're all going to hear us pronounce things wrong or say things wrong, and we'll look it up later, or you'll comment and tell us, and that will.
I didn't realize, like, mediumship is connecting with any divine being.
Yes.
It's not just,
I didn't realize
it's just
that
not
either.
somebody that you
Passed away.
loved and passed
Right.
away that you knew in this lifetime. It's also being able to connect with your spirit guides.
Right.
Or if there's deities, or if there's angels that you're
Mhm.
really drawn to be able in your meditations to get guidance from them.
Mhm.
I mean, the Akashic Records, which is the portion of our mentorship that we're going into next, that is like soul journey, soul contract, soul book stuff that you can go to and get guidance for your life. And we all have access to these things, every single one of us. But I always thought mediumship was like channeling grandma or grandpa.
Right.
And it goes so much further than that. I mean, it's endless.
Yeah. And when you start connecting the dots, when you kind of open yourself up, and like I will never forget when I first started working with her name's Ariane Road, and I work with her almost exclusively. And when I started tying the dots to how she was reaching out to me, I was like, oh shit, like this is, first of all, it scared the living hell out of me because she is not so calm and cool about it. But once, like the way that things were falling into place, once I was looking up about her and like her experiences, what she's associated with, different like stars that are connected, and I'm like, like that's always been my star that I've done star magic with, and it was tied to her this whole time, and I just think that is so cool. That it's beyond loved ones.
And another thing that I learned that like I geek out about now is the fact that I thought that I would truly be seeing
apparitions,
actual
I love that
shadows of people, or like actual people, and I was like, oh God, spirit, like don't show me someone who died in a war and got everything blown off. I'm like,
same. I was right there with you.
Having full-blown conversations. Oh no, mediumship is like
a blending of energy,
and it's like translating another language, because they might show you
a pearl.
Yeah, they might show you a pearl
or a pearl bracelet,
and they don't mean a literal pearl. That's the name of the woman,
right?
Or they'll
kind of like a puzzle you guys get to do.
It's great.
You know what? That's the kind of spirit I'm gonna be. Here's these little things. I'm gonna watch you figure it out.
Yeah. Right.
But that's the point. We're not meant to figure it out.
Right. You're delivering that message, and that's how what it's meant for is it picks it up.
And there's 3 pieces to a mediumship puzzle: the sitter, the medium, and the spirit.
Right.
And that is, you would think that it would be so simple that the all mediumship is giving what you're seeing or giving what you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, yet it is so hard because our brains, our
Wanna
human
interfere.
brains cannot compute what is occurring.
Right.
This blending of energy, it's like literal things being dropped in your mind, and your ego is like, what the hell is this? This doesn't make any sense. So let's make it make sense.
Right.
And
Or to
it's
question all of it. I mean, how do
Yeah.
you?
yeah.
Everything is like, am I inserting this
Yeah,
because
right.
I watched this show yesterday and it's
Right.
kind of in the back
Yeah.
of my mind? Am I like wishing something to life by saying it? Like by having these
You
feelings.
can't
these signs?
differentiate
Yeah.
thoughts from it comes through as a thought.
It
Right,
does.
right.
So, but then there's also the active part of our brain, which, has a ton of thoughts in and of itself. So that's why, if you want to develop your mediumship abilities, like the best way to do that is to really get to know yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's number one, to really get to understand your thought process, be the observer, right? But it's get to know your own energy, because that does happen and you're going to get no's. I mean, but how you develop as an even better medium is through those no's.
Right.
So that you can readjust and figure out, okay, I totally did, break that down, whatever
Right.
and I shouldn't have done that, or I tried to interpret the message. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have done that.
It was so
But that's
cool.
why you need your sitter.
You guys did like a big collective mediumship recently. I tuned in on it and it was very cool when your mentor paused it and said, we're going to
Recollect.
Oh, that was with my friend.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're going to recollect. And that reset was very, and I think that's why she's so great. Like
Yes.
recognizing like we need a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean,
we were pulling through who knows.
because it
Well,
does.
but there was a
What's
so-
funny is that it turns out we were right.
Yeah.
It's just we were interpreting it wrong.
Right.
Right.
And
you guys were putting your
the sitter
right.
came to me and said, look, I think you were pulling this person and you came up with that because of this. I was like, okay. But in order to stop the chaos and us, because you could tell that we were like our confidence was kind of like, oh, what's going on?
Right.
That's enough.
I mean, the confidence that you guys have to have doing this. I mean, I'm in awe of all the different ways that you guys are shining through this like brave confidence thing that hinders so much. Like, you started this, I totally blanked. Oh, I had to say one word. Like, one word.
I know. It hasn't been easy, I will tell you.
Well, you should see me when I make my TikToks to promote. I'm a million bloopers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, but that's where the easy part is because you just cut.
Right.
Like I can do that all day when I'm live.
Oh.
I
know.
I have
Live
nothing to
was
say, and I have a lot to say.
Yeah, live was hard to get used to.
No, it was.
That's for sure.
And now I don't even think about it. But
It's well, you guys, it's so cool, and it's always so fun watching these people who I don't recognize their names. They come in, they've been watching, like you've seen them, and they've been watching, and like you guys sell yourselves and your what you have to offer, and then like it's really cool.
Yeah.
When you guys get to shine doing your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
But it's so rewarding.
it is.
What are like things that you guys wish you had known?
Before starting?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there was going to be a lot of things that were going to trigger me about myself. I think the healing work that has I was telling Emily the other day, and that's not just mediumship, that's just in general, of going out and doing this full time. But mediumship for me, especially because it really forces you to just trust yourself. And I didn't realize that how hard that actually was for me to do. So the amount of shadow work and just like reflecting that I've had to do, I just thought before I signed up for this mediumship, we just sit in a class, we learn how to do it, it's mechanical, and you just do it. It's not like that at all, because how you feel and how you feel on the inside, that is as good as you're going to get 100% of the time.
Right.
And you have to constantly keep working on yourself.
Right.
Yep.
Or you will stay where you are, period.
Right.
And that's been the hardest thing for me, is coming face to face with these shadows and how I need to be, have more grace for myself and realize I'm still learning. And this isn't a corporate job. This is something completely different. So I would say that for me has been the hardest.
And that's like baseline stuff. Like you're
the
like
simplest,
that, yes, and
back to the basics.
Yeah, because I mean, facing those things of how we handle ourselves in situations.
And once you release one block, you're faced with another
Yep.
and another,
Right.
and you keep leveling up,
Right.
but with each level, there's something else that needs to be unlocked.
Right.
It never ends. The healing journey never ends.
What about you, Emily?
I think for me, it's just the amount of ego deaths that you have on this journey. You know, I remember starting off, our mentor said, the no's are the best.
Yeah.
Because that's how you learn the most. And I remember thinking, if I get a no, I am literally going to,
Oh, right.
like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
But as
So you guys, your confidence and you guys are so brave, and it is so, I think that's what's so cool.
Well, what makes me feel better about it, and it took a while, is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong. Because you're giving them what spirit is showing you.
Right.
It's just the interpretation of it. Like we said, it's like trying to translate another language.
Right.
That's what's wrong. Or the sitter may not know, especially with mediumship, you know, and this is another thing. You think you know everything about your family members. And then when they come through, you're like, I don't know what my grandmother looked like when she was 20. You know, like, I don't know what she did. So the sitter doesn't even know. So it's not, it's not a, you suck, you're awful. No, you're completely wrong.
Right.
It's more of a, I interpreted that the wrong way. And being able, our mentor has taught us how to go back and backtrack to those no's to make them yeses in a way that is just so graceful.
Yeah.
And it's so,
it's to bring through the clairsentient. That's the base of it all. Is what is what you saw or what you heard, what does that make you feel like?
Right.
And that's always going to get to the heart of it, because you could see a red car and that doesn't mean that they drove a red car, but your brain sees a red car and it's like, oh, they drove a red car, maybe there was a car accident, blah blah blah, and it just takes you on this whole journey of what it could be.
It's almost like a less is more. Like, I'm seeing a red car and then seeing what they say. And I think this is also really important for, like, the people who listen and they're not practicing, but they are tuning in, is being open. And just because you're not understanding it in that moment doesn't mean they're wrong.
Right.
And there's stories upon stories of, you know, mediums that things make sense later on, too. It's another
you talk
big piece
to a family member. I had a friend who did. She saw a medium, and the things, I mean, she was spitfiring things, and so much of it, she was like, I don't know. And she went home and she talked to her mom, and like there was something about a bracelet, and her mom ran to her sock drawer and pulled the bracelet out.
Wow.
And she didn't know it existed.
Right.
But, like, you know, she's bringing this out. She's mentioning it. Like, I don't remember who it was that was coming through to her, but, like, they kept talking about this bracelet. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I got a good one. My aunt, so my cousin who passed away, his mom went to the same medium that I went to like 18 months ago, and she kept bringing up a heart ring, like a heart necklace or a heart ring, and my aunt had no idea. Like, no idea. Did not resonate at all. And come to find out, this story is crazy.
I love it.
2 days before, did you hear this?
Yes, I love this
2
story.
days before, his wife, the widow, went with her mom and her sister to Smythe jeweler. I can't say that word. Jewelry.
Yeah.
Okay, went to that
jewelry
store. And wanted to see about making Frank's wedding band into a heart to wear as a necklace. And it gets crazier, because when they were in that store, and I have full body chills, when they were in that store, the person that was helping them was telling them, we've only done it one other time, so we know it can be done.
Right.
And out of the freaking blue, in comes the woman that had it done.
Shut up.
That makes me, like, emotional.
Ooh.
And she's like, that's me. I did that. This was my husband's wedding band, and here's the heart. Here's the necklace.
Oh my
That is
God.
So spirit
ridiculous.
Works in so many ways. So you have to keep an open mind, especially with mediumship.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be things that aren't going to make sense.
Yeah.
And things that you don't know or understand. And sometimes a no is a no.
Right.
And that's okay too.
Right.
A no is a no.
Right.
You know, we are human. And I think it's really important to, like, say that. We're not, magic. It's just, we're human.
Right.
And sometimes our brain will take over.
Right. And also we have to remember that we all have free will. So that could be in the cards for you, but you make another decision based on what you learned in the cards. So that is going to be a no. When you're getting the reading, that is a possible.
Yeah, you've got something to think about.
Alternative or path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that the split realities. I think about that all the time.
All the time.
It's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're always making decisions, whether we realize it's just internal, it's spirit led.
I had to go on a limb the other day. I don't think I told you, but I told Emily. I had my friend's wedding last weekend, and I was doing Reiki on her. And the day before I was doing the energy healing, her grandmother came through and told me that there was going to be white roses for her on her wedding day that were unexpected. And it was going to be a sign that they're there and they're supporting of the wedding, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want to say it. And this is why it's so important to just fucking say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this was her wedding day. And I'm like, what if I'm wrong? Oh my God. What if I'm... And I told her, I'm like, this is what I'm hearing. So we flash forward, we go the whole day. There ain't no white roses anywhere to be found. I'm like, I mean, it was I was kind of like in the moment, so I wasn't even really thinking about it. And we go to get our bouquets, and her bouquet was supposed to be just a little bit bigger version of ours. So we go to grab it, and she grabs hers, and her face drops, and I wasn't even clicking at that point. And she's like, what are these? It was 12 little white knockout roses in her bouquet, which were not a part of the plan whatsoever, because there was nothing like, she's not the rose type of gal. Her stuff was really like different, like lilies and all kinds of cool, like really like fall colored foliage. And I'm like, just gotta trust. Because what if I wouldn't have said that? And how meaningful it was.
What a special message.
On her wedding day to know that her grandparents, who she loved dearly, obviously, are there with her.
Yeah.
And that's our responsibility as a medium.
Mm-hmm. Not to go with what makes sense.
It's not about us.
Yeah.
It's not about us. At all. We are just the vessel.
Yep.
Well, Lauren, do you want to talk about the exciting holiday coming up?
Yes, so we have Samhain coming up. It's the witch's new year, and it's a Celtic holiday, and it is thought to be a day where the veil is the thinnest and we can communicate with our past loved ones. They can pass if they've kind of been like caught in between.
What day is that on?
On the 31st. And then it goes to November 2nd.
Okay.
And so every year I'd make my altar up, and I'll put some like skull candles on there. I put acorns that I have from like my grandmother's house, and then I also put up pictures of everyone who's passed. And I light some candles, and I sit there, and I often journal. That's the way that I connect. And I kind of journal like I'm writing a letter to them. I am definitely like a solitary witch. I have done spells with friends or anybody who's asked if they like need someone else for whatever. I'm not a hand touchy person, so I like to be by myself because there's a lot of hand touching if you do joined things.
Coven stuff.
And so I journal to whoever I kind of feel like I need to talk to. And that's how I connect, and I feel like I get to kind of sit and be with all of them in this one time, and I'm putting them, and I actually don't even put the pictures away. That the thought of putting them away makes me sad. So I just move them, and I actually have them in my windowsill, so they're always there. I just put them on my altar when it's their time to shine. And so I
love that. That's something I did recently with my loved ones, and I have them in my space where I do my work and my healing stuff, and they're always there, but you're giving me motivation to just kind of like spruce it up a little bit. I need a bigger cabinet for all my dead people.
That has been the hardest part, was figuring out. From my wedding, I actually have very little frames that we used for like our tables and whatever, and so I used those. And then I used, a lot of them were pictures I had that I made like a frame, and I hung pictures of loved ones who had passed and couldn't be there. So that it was their way of being at the wedding. And so I used those pictures, but organizing them on my altar, I mean, it's decently sized, but still it's a lot of, it's crammed. But I put my crystals are on there. I sometimes will bake like cookies and kind of like set them around. And it's a nice time to have a moment
and honor them, honor their life.
I feel like sometimes it's hard to feel ready to talk to your past loved ones sometimes, and then sometimes it's frustrating if you feel like you're not getting anything in return. I have caused things like negative to happen because I was so focused on like a sign from someone, and that was a huge reality moment of being like, that's not how this works. works.
Right.
You can't beg someone to like talk to you.
Right.
And that's just
Yeah.
how any spirit,
Right.
anything works that way. I mean, forced into.
Well, they're busy in the spirit world.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got shit to do.
They do have shit to do.
And
It
it's
ain't-
not just us they're
no.
taking care of.
No.
Right. And then also sometimes when you're so like focused, you miss. You miss the
Yes.
signs.
Yep, sure do.
You're
And when
looking
you're-
out for one specific thing and you miss that
10 other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You missed the huge billboard that said what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I asked for another crow feather, and they gave me an eagle feather. And did I think, oh, but I asked for a crow feather?
Mhm.
No, a feather's a feather.
Right. So when our dog passed away, we like day after this turtle showed up in our yard. And like that's a big sign of like they've passed. Like
Yeah.
they passed safely, here's my sign. And that next year, I was like, where's my fucking turtle?
Yeah.
And and he showed up like 3 days later and I cussed him out. I was so happy to see him, but I was like, oh, that's just how it works. And because like I was watching that, we lost a chicken because I wasn't paying attention. And so I essentially sacrificed my chicken
Right.
watching for a freaking turtle.
Right.
Like, and I was like, okay, yep, we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
That's just not how things
Right.
go.
Right.
So,
Not on our time.
No,
yes,
they're not.
and that's just
Boy, are they not.
where's time either.
Right.
At least it shouldn't be. Like that's also part of that base level is being like
Also, like, we have to, what good is it if they just come down and tell us everything we need to know?
oh, God,
Right.
no.
I mean, then what's the point of coming here?
And what's
in
the point of
first
healing
place?
and
Right.
Doing all this work, you know?
nothing?
We didn't come
It's-
here with a cheat sheet for a reason.
It's also so special, those moments when you're just like, if I could only have this. And when it comes and you're like,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There it
cool.
is.
That's
Yes.
exactly what I needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have that a lot with like my running and I'll see my sign and I'm like,
Okay. That's fine.
I
keep
have
trucking along.
I have a really good story about that actually, and I know it was Bob, my grandfather, doing it. So I had been thinking about leaving my corporate job, and there's an album called The Mockingbird and the Crow by Hardy, and I had just discovered it about a week or two before this incidents occurred, and the song The Mockingbird and the Crow is about going from the mundane to following your path and like not giving a fuck about what other people think. And I resonated with it so much, and then we joined the mentorship, you know, whatever. So I'm driving to work, and this was Carrie's last day, and I'm on 695, very busy highway in the morning, and my soul felt like it was gonna rip out of my body. Like I knew it was
Dread
spirit,
going.
yeah. And I knew it was spirit saying, you need to hightail it out. This is not for you. So I'm driving, I'm blasting this song, and out of nowhere, a car merges in front of me, and the license plate says bro. I knew at that absolute moment
Chills.
that I had to march in there and give my 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and that is exactly what I did.
Remember when I saw the crows and I called you up and I said, we're done.
Yeah.
Like they literally were sitting in my front tree
Yep.
going, hey bitch, I'm talking to you. And I
Right.
counted, I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought, oh shit, there it is.
Yep.
I texted Carrie and I was like, hey, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was wild is that wasn't even my decision. Like
Right.
that wasn't me them saying, hey, you go quit. That was
Right.
literally
You're
Right.
you've got to figure something else out.
Yep.
It's your time.
yeah.
And those little signs are so scary, but
Yes.
so cool.
Yes.
Well, whenever I think back, like, oh my God, did I make a big mistake? I think of that moment,
Yeah.
and I'm like, bitch, no, you did not.
No.
No.
You did not make a big mistake.
No.
They wanted you out of there yesterday.
All the choices we make, especially hobby, career, whatever, all builds up to
You cannot
what's
make
coming.
a wrong decision.
Yeah.
I mean, if your intentions are good and it's not, you can make a wrong decision to hurt somebody else, and that's always
Or
a
to
wrong
hurt
decision,
yourself.
or to hurt
Right.
yourself. But it's always going to get you to where you need to be. So, are you taking the longer route?
Mhm.
Where you're going to learn a lot of different lessons along the way, and it might be really hard, and it might like almost break you down to nothing, but you're going to come out of it with so much knowledge? Or are you going to take more of the streamline?
Right.
Or it's going to get you to the same kind of goal.
Right.
If your goal is to have success, whatever whatever it is. You cannot make, when you're at a crossroads, you can't go the wrong way.
No.
Right. Yeah.
It's always going to be the right way
Yep.
for what you need right now.
Right.
And if you trust that,
you'll
and
see
you
it in
don't
the
look
future.
so far.
Yeah, that was it.
You look back and you're like, yeah, I needed to go through that.
Right.
Right.
I needed to, you know, be so insecure and worried about my finances because I had so many financial blocks that I hadn't cleared. I needed to be at that place
Right.
to heal that part of me. That's the point.
Or even just to learn those failures, to learn from them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or like when you say goodbye to a journey we're doing. I had this conversation with someone who they're closing a part of their business. And I think that was the hardest I sold hair bows when I was just out of college. I was in it at the right time. It was when sororities were big in them. I mean, I was selling like 100 bows. Like packages for all these sorority girls to make their videos. I was in it at the right time. And when that time was over, I held on to that LLC for so long and it made me so sad. But when it was time to let it go, I was also into my next LLC, which I never would have known about when you gotta pay your taxes, what you've gotta file, how to engage with people. And I had already learned that. And I had my hair bows to thank for it.
Yeah, there's a purpose.
Yeah, and then even the next one, when I'm doing all these weddings and I'm in the event industry and I create my own website, I dived in. COVID happens, I lose it all. I learned website building.
Right.
And that's where I am now. Like I'm freelancing using all these tools that I said goodbye to them, but they served their purpose.
Right.
Like it's fine and it's good to let their purpose be done.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It all comes back full circle.
Yeah.
Always.
It's so fucking cool when it does.
There's no regrets. I mean, even when you've been married to or dating someone that's terrible and toxic. I mean, Lord knows I have, and I don't regret any of it.
No.
I don't hate any of them. I wouldn't be who I am or where I am if I didn't. Like, thank you. I want to say thank you.
I would have never ended up with my husband if it weren't for the trip ups along the way.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I wouldn't be if I didn't have those experiences.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So as always, guys, I just want to remind all of you that Lauren, Emily, and myself, we are learning and growing with you. We hope that you're able to resonate with the things that we talk about in this podcast and know that you are exactly where you're meant to be on your journey right now. There's so much ahead of you, and we're just here to share our experiences and things that we've learned along the way to help you go on your own path. But we're here for you guys.
Yeah, and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Team Spirit Podcast. You can also find Emily and Carrie on TikTok Live at Enchanted Mystic by MK and Carrie at Clarity by Cam, CAM. Yeah, so thank you for tuning in, and until next time.